high, then it means BTC is overbought, and that means it could start crashing soon. On the flip side, if the RSI is low, then this means BTC is oversold, and that means it could start rallying soon. Most of the time, the RSI is somewhere in the middle. As for the MACD, it stands for Moving Average Convergence Divergence. It sounds complex, but it's actually super simple. When the bars are green, the price trend is positive. When the bars are red, the price trend is negative. When the two lines cross, that means the price trend is about to change. Simple as. Another two technical indicators you need to know about are the moving average and the Bollinger Bands. As the term suggests, the moving average tells you the average price of BTC over a given period. Unfortunately, you need to manually add the moving averages. Thankfully, though, this is fairly easy to do. First, search for the moving average from the indicator selection and select it twice. In the top left, you should see both moving average indicators appear, set to some default time frame like 9. Hover over each indicator and manually select 50 for one moving average and 200 for the other moving average, as you can see here. Now, the reason why we're using the 50 and 200 periods is essentially because these are the most significant, mainly on the daily. The 50-day moving average is a strong zone of resistance when BTC is below it, and it's a strong zone of support when BTC is above it. Same idea for the 200-day moving average. In this sense, you can think of the 50-day and 200-day moving averages as being hidden key levels for BTC. The difference is that these two moving averages also show you BTC's trend. When the 50-day moving average crosses the 200-day moving average from below, this is called a golden cross, and it suggests that BTC is entering a long-term uptrend. When the 50-day moving average crosses the 200-day moving average from above, this is called a death cross, and it suggests BTC is entering a long-term downtrend. When it comes to shorter-term trend changes, this is where the Bollinger Bands come in handy. Now, the middle band is effectively a moving average, just like the 50-day or the 200-day. The upper band shows you how high BTC could potentially go if it pumps, whereas the lower band shows you how low BTC could potentially go if it dumps. BTC typically trades around the Bollinger Band moving average. If BTC is above the Bollinger Band moving average, then it's in a short-term bullish trend, and if it's below, then it's in a short-term bearish trend. If BTC trades in the same range for a long time, the outer bands will come closer to the Bollinger Band moving average, creating a squeeze. And this foreshadows a change in BTC's trend, be it to the upside or the downside. It's very useful. Now, by this point, you're probably asking, but this is just for BTC. What about all the other cryptos I want to trade? Well, you're in luck, because everything I just told you applies to other cryptos too. It tends to work best on larger altcoins, but it works on most smaller altcoins too. The more emotions, the better. The reason why we focused on BTC is because you must do this analysis on BTC first before you do it for any other crypto. Once you've figured out whether BTC is in a bullish or bearish trend and whether this trend is likely to continue or change, well, only then can you start looking at trading other cryptos. There are just two more things to keep in mind, and that's manipulation and leverage. The smaller a crypto is, the easier it is for crypto whales to manipulate. This can make it very hard to trade because there's a higher chance that the key levels you've identified will be invalidated to try and mess up your strategy. For larger cryptos, the main thing to keep in mind is leverage. Traders will often use lots of leverage when trading larger altcoins to boost their returns. This often results in lots of unexpected volatility, with prices rallying more than expected because of short squeeze and prices crashing more than expected because of long liquidations. Crypto whales will often try to trigger these to their benefit. That's why you should consider avoiding leverage trading until you've figured out a crypto trading strategy that works well for you and have gotten used to the extreme volatility of the crypto market. Better yet, keep track of your trades on paper instead of using real money. Only once you feel confident that you can consistently turn a profit, well, then start using real money, not finding. And finally, remember to be patient. Even though there are traders that have made millions of dollars in a few days, the fact of the matter is that these kinds of gains take time. That's because each trade takes time. If you put on a trade and your target isn't hit within a few minutes or a few hours, be patient. Some trades can take days, weeks, even months to complete. If you're confident, wait until your targets are hit. Once you've practiced enough patience, you'll come to find that more and more of your trades go the way that you want. And eventually, you'll realize that was the hardest part of all, sticking to your targets until they're hit. Put differently, the secret to success isn't to constantly trade. It's to wait until the time is right, take aim, pull the trigger, and then wait until the target is hit. Quality over quantity, in other words. Okay folks, if you made it this far and you want to keep learning about crypto trading or want more real-time analysis of crypto prices, then be sure to check out our trading channel, CoinHero Trading. The link will be down in the description. As always, thank you all for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. This is Guy, signing off.
Tesla is finished, Elon has failed. That is what they want you to believe. But tech expert Jeff Brown, who told everybody to buy Tesla back in 2018, has uncovered something big that just happened in Tesla's AI division. Jeff, do you mind sharing what you found?
Well, Chris, it's nothing short of the biggest AI breakthrough we've seen yet. Thanks to Tesla's AI breakthrough, just weeks from now, AI will come off our computer screens and manifest itself here in the physical world, all while creating a whole new phase of artificial intelligence growth virtually overnight.
Right, but this AI boom has already been so huge, Jeff. That sounds almost unbelievable.
I understand your skepticism, Chris, but just look at what's happening right now. NVIDIA CEO Jensen Huang just announced they're going all in on this technology. Mark Zuckerberg is racing to compete with Tesla in this space. Jeff Bezos has even made a huge bet on a startup in this exact field. Now, ask yourself, why are they doing this? Because they see, just as I do, what I call manifested AI is going to be massive.
Right, so Silicon Valley's biggest players are all diving in head first.
And so is Wall Street. Morgan Stanley is projecting huge growth in this corner of the AI market. And Citibank is projecting a number so huge that it's even made my analyst's eyes pop.
Wow, that's saying something. It seems like this breakthrough is quite the game changer then, but if that's the case, why is Tesla stock down so much this year, Jeff?
Well, that's simple, Chris. I mean, the mainstream media is obsessed with quarterly car sales while completely missing what's happening behind the scenes. They did the exact same thing in 2018 when I told everyone Tesla was really an AI company, not just a car manufacturer. Now, we all know what happened after that. Tesla went on a multi-year tear. But what's coming next will make Tesla's past success look like pocket change.
Right, so it sounds like people should buy Tesla right now. Is that right?
Well, personally, I love Tesla, Chris, and I think it'll be the most valuable AI company in the world. And with their recent AI breakthrough, we are about to see a new wave of AI wealth that, according to my own research, will be 14 times bigger than chatbots, generative AI, and quantum AI combined. But there's a much better way to get the most bang for your buck. If people want to know what it is, they can click the link on this video where I'll reveal the details about this new manifested AI opportunity.
Right. Do they need to buy anything or enter their email address to see this information?
Nope, it's completely free of charge. No email is required. Just click the link below now and you'll see exactly what's happening with Tesla's AI breakthrough and how AI is about to be manifested right here in the real world. Along with the details around this one company that sits at the heart of this revolution.
Right, you heard it here first, folks. The same man who called NVIDIA before its incredible rise and Tesla all the way back in 2018 now says what he shares in the link below, well, it could be his most important call yet. Don't miss it.
Most people believe that the crypto market is
really complex.
But when you break it down into its two core components, it's actually very simple. In fact, you could argue that the crypto market is even easier to understand than traditional markets, where stocks in technology and finance have long dominated. Now, crypto is a combination of technology and finance, and many believe it's the future of finance.
It's the future.
So, given this possibility, it's important to understand how the crypto market works. Well, we've been in this game for a while now, and in this video, we're going to tell you exactly what's going on under the hood. My name is Guy. Stay tuned. Let's start with the first core component of the crypto market, the 4-year cycle. Historically, the crypto market has followed a predictable 4-year cycle. For 2 to 3 years of the cycle, crypto is in a bear market, meaning that prices tend to go down during this period. For 1 to 2 years of the cycle, crypto is in a bull market, meaning that prices tend to go up during this period. But what causes this price action? Well, the answer is Bitcoin. Every 4 years, the supply of newly issued BTC coins is cut in half in an event known as the halving. When the supply of something decreases, but the demand stays the same or goes up, then the price will rise. So, assuming demand stays the same, BTC's price should double every 4 years. However, the demand for BTC has been steadily rising due to a series of factors, particularly its similarity and superiority to gold. The result is that BTC's price has gone up by a lot over the years. By some measures, Bitcoin is the best performing asset of all time, with BTC rising by a factor of over 1 millionx since its launch in 2009. Historically speaking, BTC will hit a new all-time high roughly 1 year after the Bitcoin halving. For context, the previous Bitcoin halving was in 2024 and the next Bitcoin halving is in 2028. Last year was the first time that BTC surpassed its all-time high prior to the halving, and we'll explain why a little bit later. And by the way, if you're enjoying the video so far, then be sure to smash that like button and subscribe to the channel and ping that notification bell so you don't miss the next one. Now, BTC surpassing its previous all-time high has historically signaled the beginning of the crypto bull market phase of the cycle, which you'll recall lasts between 1 and 2 years. Because Bitcoin is the largest cryptocurrency by market cap, BTC leads and all the other cryptocurrencies eventually follow. These other cryptocurrencies, known as altcoins, eventually follow BTC because Bitcoin whales, that is, entities which hold lots of BTC, eventually rotate some of their BTC into altcoins in search of larger returns. This rotation is done by either selling BTC to buy altcoins or using BTC as collateral to borrow money, which is then used to buy altcoins. These days, borrowing against BTC is the primary method. Now, whereas BTC tends to see most of its gains in the early stages of the crypto bull market, altcoins tend to rally the most during the final stages of the crypto bull market. This is because new investors only start paying attention to BTC when it's hitting new highs, and only start paying attention to altcoins when Bitcoin whales start rotating into altcoins, causing altcoins to pump and creating greed among investors. When new investors get greedy enough that they start looking to buy, most will look at the top cryptocurrencies by market cap and feel intimidated by the large price tags of BTC and other altcoins. This gives them the impression that they can't afford to buy BTC or these other large altcoins. This impression comes from the fact that other assets like stocks require you to buy an entire share. There is actually an economic term for this: unit bias. Now, the consequence of this is that new investors will invest most of their money into altcoins with smaller price tags, particularly because these smaller price tags give them the impression that they'll be rich if the crypto gets a price tag as big as BTC's. This is part of why altcoins like XRP and ADA are popular. But it's not just the price that new investors look for in an altcoin. New investors will also look for strong narratives, which is another reason why altcoins like XRP and ADA are popular. XRP's narrative is that it works closely with banks, whereas Cardano's narrative is that it's based on academic research. As with all narratives, these tend to follow positive price action, which you'll recall is initially triggered by Bitcoin whales rotating some of their BTC gains into altcoins like XRP and Cardano's ADA. The positive price action gets new investors interested. They invest primarily in the altcoins with smaller price tags, and the strong narratives of these altcoins justify the price action, causing their prices to go even higher. The outcome is that new investors start focusing on the altcoins themselves, and the events that are related to these altcoins become the primary drivers of their speculative price action, rather than whales. News of a technical upgrade or an institutional partnership causes their prices to explode higher, and news of a technical issue or the revelation of a fake partnership causes their prices to collapse lower. The extreme emotions of fear and greed experienced by new crypto investors quickly attracts crypto traders. That's because technical price analysis fundamentally measures emotional patterns related to fear and greed. The more extreme the emotions, the more effective that technical analysis becomes. This phenomenon makes crypto traders overconfident, and it tempts them into trading with leverage, that is, with borrowed money. This creates a dynamic where every small dip in crypto prices turns into a massive crash, as all the crypto traders who were betting that prices would go up are forced to sell their positions. This causes prices to go lower, and panic selling by new investors pushes prices even lower than that. The result is a massive crash where prices go much lower than new investors, crypto traders, and even Bitcoin whales were expecting. This is because the cause of the crash isn't just panic selling from new investors who are fearful. It's also automated selling caused by the overconfident crypto traders who went long, termed liquidation. The catch is that during crypto bull markets, this crash is usually short-lived. This is because many new and existing investors will take advantage of the crash to buy the dip, which slowly pushes prices back up. These investors tend to be the ones who believe in the narrative of the crypto in question the most. After a few weeks or even days, crypto starts to recover due to a combination of new investors who believe in the narrative buying the dip, overconfident traders wrongly betting with leverage that prices will continue to go down, which forces them to buy when they go up, and Bitcoin whales wanting to see if they can repeat the process by pumping up prices. This takes the crypto market high. Hey everyone, sorry to interrupt the video, but I just want to very quickly tell you about the Coin Bureau deals page. This is the place where we put together all the amazing deals and promos that we're able to offer you guys exclusively as viewers of this channel. Head on over and you will find such things as discounts on hardware wallets, some seriously impressive trading fee discounts on some of the best exchanges, as well as some frankly mind-boggling sign-up bonuses for some of those exchanges too. The link is down below. Check it out when you have a moment. Thank me later. And now, back to the video. Now, thanks to the depreciation of fiat currencies like the US dollar over the course of the cycle, BTC and altcoins will go much higher than investors expect as the crypto bull market progresses. It's estimated that the money supply grew by 30 to 40% during the pandemic. This explains why BTC hit a new all-time high in early 2024. Its price had technically not hit a new all-time high when adjusted for inflation. It also means that the cycle tops being forecast for BTC and altcoins by most crypto analysts are likely off by a factor of 30 to 40%, as most do not factor in this inflation. In other videos, we've noted that BTC's cycle top should be roughly $140,000 based on the diminishing returns it's experienced over each successive cycle, but that on an inflation-adjusted basis, BTC's cycle top could be higher, closer to $200,000. BTC and most altcoins tend to hit their cycle tops because of some bullish catalyst that triggers an extreme fear of missing out, or FOMO. For BTC, this could be the creation of a strategic Bitcoin reserve in the USA or elsewhere. For altcoins, this could be a partnership with a major bank or payment processor like PayPal. Now, this catalyst should be fairly easy to spot, as it will make you feel like crypto will just keep going up forever. As the prices of cryptos exceed expectations, feelings of greed among new investors, crypto traders, and Bitcoin whales do as well. These market participants will take on some form of leverage to buy more crypto than they can afford. This can be in the form of bank loans, credit card debt, or BTC collateral. Eventually, however, this leverage becomes so big that it becomes difficult for these market participants to replicate the prior recoveries when prices crash. New investors have borrowed as much as they can from the bank and can't afford to buy the dip. Overconfident crypto traders have maxed out their credit cards and can't bet on prices going down. Bitcoin whales can't take any more loans against their BTC collateral. What starts off as another sharp correction in a bull market turns into the beginning of the crypto bear market as the process starts going in reverse. After realizing that another recovery is no longer possible, Bitcoin whales who can't take any more loans against their BTC collateral start selling gradually more altcoins to pay back their BTC loans before their BTC gets sold. Some are too late and their BTC gets sold for them. This causes the price of BTC to crash, which puts even more pressure on Bitcoin whales to sell altcoins to pay back their BTC loans. This causes the prices of altcoins to fall very fast. The few overconfident traders that are left use their remaining funds to bet that prices will go up, thinking that they'll bottom around the levels that they'd identified using technical analysis, but technical analysis doesn't work anymore. That's because the dip isn't being driven by emotion anymore, it's being driven by forced selling from market participants who borrowed too much money to invest and need to sell any and every crypto they can at whatever price the market will buy it from them to ensure that they don't end up in massive debt. As prices start falling much more than overconfident traders expected, the last of their longs are liquidated, taking altcoin prices even lower. By this point, most new and existing crypto investors have spent the last of their money buying every successive dip, only to see prices continue to fall lower. After a few weeks or even a few months, new and existing crypto investors either capitulate and sell or forget about the crypto they bought because it's worth so little that it's not worth selling. But if you look at past crypto bear markets, you'll notice there's typically one big bear market rally before the lows. Now, this bear market rally is due to the actions of the three market participants we've identified. Bitcoin whales who buy altcoins to tempt any new and existing investors that are left into spending the last bit of cash in between their sofa cushions on altcoins in the hopes that the crypto bull market will come back. Now, this buying by Bitcoin whales and new and existing investors causes prices to pump, which squeezes all the traders who went short at the local lows, forcing them to buy, sending the prices higher. The result is a rally that feels almost like the beginning of a new crypto bull market. But the rally is short-lived. Market participants understand that it won't be sustained, and the resulting sell-off sets the stage for the lows. Historically, the crypto bear market low has been marked by a catalyst that makes all market participants wonder whether crypto was all a huge mistake. This catalyst often involves some very large entity that took on too much debt and is eventually forced to sell everything to pay down these debts. The catalyst in 2022 was the fall of the FTX exchange, which was not only fraudulent, but highly leveraged as well. The time between the catalyst that marks the crypto cycle lows and the Bitcoin halving has historically been the best time to accumulate BTC and altcoins. That's because BTC's price is too low for Bitcoin whales to use it to borrow a lot of money to pump altcoins, overconfident crypto traders have moved on to trading other assets, and new and existing investors have gone back to focusing on non-crypto things. The catch is that during this period of the bear market, it's common for there to be sudden rallies that are short-lived. These are usually due to small rallies turning into big rallies because of the few traders who are still betting that cryptos will go down. They never evolve into a recovery rally due to the absence of rotational flows from Bitcoin whales and the absence of any new or existing investors to buy back in. Eventually, the Bitcoin halving comes along, putting BTC back in the spotlight. The combination of a slightly restricted new supply and slight increase in investor interest causes BTC's price to begin to rise, and the crypto market slowly begins to awaken from its slumbers. The caveat is that this is only one component of how the crypto market works, the crypto component. There's a second, macro component involved as well. Now, as we noted at the start of this video, crypto is a combination of technology and finance. This is significant because the only two sectors that have significantly outperformed inflation in recent decades have been technology and finance. Given this fact, crypto is technically the ideal inflation hedge. In this context, inflation refers to a rise in prices caused by an increase in money supply, which is the demand side of every economic equation. The more money that's created, the less valuable it becomes relative to everything else, and the assets that have the least supply growth experience the largest gains. This is why prices of assets like housing, gold, and even BTC have gone up so much in recent years. Their supply is restricted relative to fiat currencies. These assets didn't become very valuable. The currencies they're measured against became less valuable because of the massive increase in currency supply. Now, earlier we noted that BTC's inflation-adjusted price is likely lower than meets the eye because of the 30 to 40% inflation that occurred during the pandemic. This effect didn't happen overnight. It took many months and years for it to feed through into the price of BTC and other assets with scarce supplies. Now, whereas crypto analysts simply refer to this as money printing, macro analysts refer to it as an increase in liquidity, which can be simply understood as the amount of money in the markets and the economy. When global money supply, i.e. global liquidity, rises, so does the price of assets like cryptocurrencies. Research by liquidity experts like Michael Howell suggests that global liquidity follows a cycle of expansion and contraction, just like the crypto market. What's fascinating is that the global liquidity cycle follows a similar timeline to the Bitcoin halving cycle. This has led some macro analysts to theorize that the primary driver of the crypto market cycle is not its own 4-year cycle, but the 4-year global liquidity cycle. Evidence for this theory lies in the fact that the bottom of the global liquidity cycle has historically corresponded very closely to the bottom of the crypto market cycle. Evidence against this theory lies in the fact that the top of the global liquidity cycle has historically not corresponded very closely to the top of the crypto market cycle. But this can be explained by the crypto components we discussed earlier. On the flip side, the immediate impacts that liquidity declines have on crypto can be explained by crypto's position relative to other assets at the macro level. BTC is like gold due to its monetary properties, but most investors still see Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies as high-risk assets. This is because they're new relative to the alternatives. Gold has been around for millennia. The result is that most investors will only allocate a small percentage of their portfolios to BTC and other cryptos. This is especially true of large investors who are just looking for ways to protect their massive money piles against inflation with minimal volatility and risk. In other words, BTC and other cryptos are too volatile and risky for the largest pool of capital to allocate to in size for the time being. This creates an interesting dynamic as it relates to global liquidity. When new money is created, be it by a central bank, government or otherwise, this money starts by flowing into the safest assets, such as government bonds. If macro conditions are good, meaning there's no political or geopolitical uncertainty, interest rates are low, employment is high, and so on, then it will slowly flow into riskier assets like stocks. Eventually, this capital flows into the highest risk assets, including BTC and other cryptos. In practical terms, this means that there's a delay between the time that new liquidity is created and the time that it takes for this newly created money to make its way into the crypto market. Research by liquidity experts suggests that it can take as long as 2 months for new liquidity to make its way into the market. But suppose there's a change in macro conditions because of, say, political instability or geopolitical conflict. If this happens, investors will know that a liquidity drain is coming and move to protect their portfolios. Most investors will sell their riskiest and best performing assets out of caution and duty. This means assets like BTC and altcoins, which have been the best performers in recent years, but also the riskiest. This causes the prices of cryptos, namely BTC, to fall first and the most investors. This puts pressure on the Bitcoin falls, mainly due to macro factors, while the altcoins they bought mainly fall due to crypto components like leverage trading. In practical terms then, this means that it takes a long time for an increase in global liquidity to cause a rally in crypto prices. But when there's a negative change in macro conditions, decreases explains why the bottoms of liquidity cycles correspond to crypto market bottoms, and the liquidity lag explains why it's not the case for cycle tops. There's just global liquidity is not nearly as easy to model as determined mainly by politicians and central bankers, who are illiquid. The caveat is that many macro analysts believe that the liquidity cycle is ultimately driven by to refinance their debts. This refinancing causes liquidity to contract since money is destroyed when debts are repaid. This contraction in liquidity causes asset prices to fall. Now consider that the crypto components we learned about earlier don't just apply to crypto, but the entire finance, like altcoins, financial institutions use assets. So, when asset prices fall because governments to step in with more liquidity to ensure that asset prices don't fall too much. That's because if the prices of assets like government bonds do fall too much, the financial system. What this means is that the liquidity cycle is likely to continue repeating indefinitely. In turn, this means that the crypto market cycle, just because of the crypto components around things like BTC, but also because of the macro components that require liquidity levels to continue rising, will eventually be implemented when the average purchase rate and start trying to buy assets like control. So here are the key takeaways. A combination of the Bitcoin halving, which happens every 4 crypto and macro components, it becomes easy to understand what's happening now and what's likely to come next. If BTC has surpassed its previous all-time high and global liquidity is rising, both via BTC and flows from traditional investors who eventually allocate some liquidity into crypto. The crypto cycle top, if however altcoins are falling fast and liquidity is also falling, then crypto is in a bear market, and it will bottom once large crypto entities reveal that they're insolvent and global liquidity bottoms too. Now, perhaps these predictable cycles will change someday, but at the moment, that is the way the world goes round. If they do, though, we will of course be the first to let you know. Now, if you enjoyed that, then don't forget to check. Thank you all for watching, and I will see you again soon.
We're currently generating 4.9 kilowatts of power. Today, currently 0 kilowatts has been pulled from the grid. Using the app, we're able to see how much power we're generating from the roof, how much is going into the power wall and from the grid.
That's stupid.
When I started Walton Goggins Goggle Glasses, I needed a website. Figuring out how to make one was pretty hard on the old noggin. But
An ally has been slain.
Need to avoid some of these mistakes. Mistakes that you could even be making right now. My name is Guy, and in this guide, I'll be diving deep into the top 10 mistakes that crypto investors so often make between turning a profit or having your fortunes swept under your feet. The first big mistake people make is not doing their own research, especially if your friend Degenerate Dave is making bank and telling you about an altcoin that's guaranteed to 100x. You're Take your time to do your research. Learn about exchanges. Learn how to store your crypto safely. Learn about your tax liabilities, and definitely, time and again, people don't. We will link to it in the description below. In projects, there are 2 is the token allocation. So to sift through the data, paying particular attention to where people are actually buying and selling. Now, once you're assured that the fundamentals are in order, it's time to deep dive into the secondary sources. You should research the crypto on platforms like Asari, Binance Research, CoinGiro.com, etc., etc. These are excellent primers that should be able to give you a broad overview of the project, key team members, and their vision. In particular, check out the profile section of the cryptocurrency on Asari is something you should pay close attention. A red flag, do your due diligence on the founder, CEO, and chairman. Past interviews can be hugely informative and help you know if they're implementing their vision or are a bit skeptical. Naturally, it's a good sign when they're delivered to determine whether the project is legit and even some old hands in crypto making when it comes to choosing an exchange. The first thing, time and again, we hear of paid ads for exchanges and other firms who are projects who have to do the same when it comes to exchanges, especially to lesser known ones. Then you need to know if the exchange is compatible with your investment. To invest solely in large cap tokens, then pretty mumuch every exchange will cover. But if you're seeking small caps, which are higher risk but offer potentially eye-watering, offer many hundreds of coins and tokens, which is pretty impressive. However, Coinbase's selection, for instance, is far smaller in the low states, has to have.
Imagine making
accounts on Pinterest, Twitter, TikTok, or Instagram. This may sound like a big claim.
No matter how nuclear war begins, it ends in 72 minutes and 5 billion people would be dead.
Do you think there will be a nuclear?
What I learned was, oh my God.
The world's biggest secrets.
Nuclear war. In fact, the president of the nothing could be more important.
Could you play out
detail precisely what happens? So, would be forced to live underground and envy the dead.
Annie, is there anyone you interviewed that brought you to tears?
Yes, I met a woman who is a survivor of the Nagasaki bomb, and I haven't written about this yet. But someone I interviewed and someone that meant a lot to me wired that nuclear
that it had on both those individuals.
And it's horrible.
63% of you that listen to this podcast regularly don't subscribe, which is down from 69%. Our goal is 50%, more than you know, and the bigger the channel.
Nuclear World War III. That's always the idea in the Defense Department and in the CIA. We are there to prevent nuclear war. And so during the previous administration, former President Trump, there was this presidential rhetoric going on. The leader of North Korea threatening this kind of thing. And I, like many, I'm sure, began to wonder, my God, what if deterrent to all of those sources in the book, and that result is nuclear war, a scenario?
What was your intention?
I wanted to show in horrific detail just how horrible, just how apocalyptic many people have forgotten of a nuclear exchange. As I show in the book, all ballistic missiles, it will not stop in days and weeks and months.
When was the first word written?
On nuclear weapons goes back my entire career. My first book, Area 51, is about a joint CIA Air Force where the United States government used to. So when I was reporting Area 51, the people who, and that was kind of my God. And I was also surprised to learn that most atmospheric nuclear weapons, been on this issue, one, as you asked, was like first fraction of a second after detection, because it just all happened so fast.
COVID, sort of 2020, things have escalated around the world in terms of I think he moved nuclear where commanders are using towards the world, real than ever before.
People defense, former nuclear cyber chief. And a lot has kind of forgotten that the nuclear reporting and writing, you're absolutely right, that to a point that you have not seen.
We talked about how possible was that it doesn't take thousands of, which I found quite unnerving, that there's one individual.
You're absolutely strive to do in my issues and simplify by interviewing the two things going for me, perhaps as an investigative journalist, that help in conveying the story is that I'm not a scientist, whatever this is, makes sense. I never even stopped to think about it. The United States president has sole a lot of this stuff, this nomenclature that gets thrown at you. He's the POTUS authority. He does staff, not the Congress. I love the worried look on your face in this moment, because it is, once you know that, you like, that's not really true. You'll get like, well, it is really true. It's Congress became so sort of the powers that be. It is true. As commander-in-chief, sort of my well, that's weird. We have presidential authority, but it has been slain. Travels from one again. exactly like it sounds. Carrying a nuclear warhead to strike. Once we go have a war in Iraq, let's discuss this, sir. Coming at the United States, and you must act. And that's why, in the simplest layman's terms, sole president.
My name is Adam Ferrari, the Chief Executive into our 9 to 13% annual interest rate. 2024 Phoenix Energy rose. We are now right alongside industry giant. Production rates have risen as high as 18,000. We hope to see you at our brief webinar. In less than 1 hour, you will learn more about our 9 to 13% annual interest rate bond.
What these weapons are, Japan. The weapon we see in that we're talking about today.
No, but there's two things that separate. In 1945, there were atomic bombs. A thermonuclear weapon as nuclear bomb is so astonishingly designed the first thermonuclear bomb. To me, and I explained to you, I'm the one that was dropped on Hiroshima is the size of an elephant-sized bomb inside of an aircraft, in an aircraft. Let's figure out no nuclear bombs, and let's make them smaller. So much of this buildup was about the military-industrial complex. You see, without losing the drama now, which is where we've been for a very long time. Silos under the ground, there are 400. You can find out where they are on a map. Then we have the same kind of concept of a ballistic missile. And the technology, and those systems, 7 days a week, 365, are impossible to find. The nuclear had this great way of describing it to me. When I said fruit-sized object in space.
Just the United States that have these weapons. You list several of those countries. I think it's
9 nuclear-armed nations. Also really interesting to we will have a concept of mutual assured destruction. So 50s, when there were only, really making all of this more precarious. Looping back to your, notion that, like, my God, we are at this precipice of danger, which we are, is because there are 9 nuclear-armed nations, many of which are in direct conflict. China, the UK.
And
this is a very, very, very significant away from the sort of geopolitical posture. The political aspect. Have read a lot of the responses and had a lot of take away what you think about the fact. My God, you put a 10th nuclear-armed nation in here to safety and security.
And when I look at the list of countries you've written about that have these nuclear weapons, the US, Russia, Israel and Iran, the UK and France are obviously part of NATO, so they're kind of sucked into the whole Russia-Ukraine-US conflict that's going on, that proxy war there. These countries, and with many of these wars, it's hard to point, aren't going to necessarily decide one day as a whole. The US can't let Ukraine lose the attack in Israel, which is the conflict that one individual can make the decision.
The UN Secretary General said away from nuclear Armageddon, sort of verbiage, right? When I talk about those were notion that if nuclear known among the leaders, and yet you have people like the president of Russia and the president of the United States and the leader of North Korea recently accused the United. I mean, that is a provocation. Well, the point is the answer that you're of civilization.
But one of the things that it did make me think when I realized that there's one individual in the United States where we are now who can make that decision, and that there's basically like someone following the president with a briefcase called the football or something.
Yes.
What is that football for people that don't know?
Yeah. And so now that people know, you will almost, if he's in frame, you'll see the 24/7, 365. Two important things. There's instrumentation, the National Military Command Center, which is the authentication. And it was told to me the reason of nuclear strike options for the stick missile is coming at the United States, because as you learn in the book, and as I learned from President, and so there's no time for a pre-prepared for the president. Was responsible for in detail what it was like, directly, different targets, and why. And then later, seeing the black described by the only mill aide who's ever gone on. And So you understand that this list is so watered down into no idea.
It makes me realize how important the decision to pick.
And I'm talking about some former secretaries very informed about their role as. And again, so this brings us back to that paradox. What if deterrence fails? Deterrence is this idea of so many nuclear weapons pointed at us. No one would be insane enough to let any of them loose. That's how we all stay safe. But that is what exists.
Checks on our leaders every 3 months. Episode? You know, and I'll leave it at episode because there's a variety of different types of episodes one can have. And I was thinking, well, if the president just has a bit of an episode, which can happen to people for a variety of different unpredictable reasons, then that president could potentially make a decision to end the planet. And there doesn't seem to be a...
Nixon was president, and it was during the Watergate scandal. He probably knew the end of his presidency was near. And he was very drunk one night, and he began to threaten her about how he could end the world or kill her. Called up the military and said, if the president orders any kind of a nuclear strike, talk to me first.
And do you think that would have happened?
Unless they come out of the mouth of them for sure. You know, the actual command and control, who's going to follow the rules, people ask me that question often. And I took that exact question, like a submariner on a sub, moment where you say, my goodness, I'm gonna save the historian at the cloud. And I said, do you think that could happen? And he said, someone in the nuclear chain of command and control, you are trained to...
I've seen him that does some podcasts. And he was selected and trained on the basis that he was prepared, I guess, psychologically to... What if the president is hit by a nuclear onto somebody else?
Well, I take the reporting this. On the one hand, as I was learning, like, the launch of industrialism, as far as I understand, it's called Sibber's technology.
Because I was reading about the sort of historic ones.
Absolutely.
So I was a little bit like, but what are those instances not to follow through on a notification?
The person who is an actual first tells the story, and then your match was Secretary of Defense yet. He had, like, the president job. That by the nuclear continental... How does a mistake happen? A simulated, mistakenly reasonable is one of the few regarded secrets in America. But, and if it's that begins, it ends 72 minutes discussing and interviewing, he said, the world.
If a...
And you and I wouldn't need a FEMA director, so if a hurricane or a flood, Craig Fugate me that they did that. He also said, but what Fugate told him will be dead. And putting his efforts from the government issues, as a nuclear war is anyway. I just want to really make sure first people, both terrifying, leave office because of control. They are very focused on doing their job. Hence what we spoke about earlier, national security. The people what this means in terms of legacy. As in the war.
What's space or trouble grappling with that?
The 90s, and for at least set up a type of this word.
Getting the right parts fast. For over 30. What if your parts we're not. So what are you waiting for? Register as a dealer.
You know, really, he's what you might call the military that I write about. You have this sort of industry, military weapons system industry that is in a constant state of forward movement. Where does that take us? And at what point does it end? It was Eisenhower who said in his famous speech where the public will then...
In the book, almost a nuclear bomb coming in from some minister of the UK, whoever up this sort of black. How does he know which...
Planes in the trade fighter, it has the mark. Planes in the trade fighter, it has the mark of the United States. Whose these nuclear weapons do they have?
What if those submarines?
How would the president of Iraq... That is a different scenario. What I am talking about is the Defense Department knows can measure the hot rocket exhaust from the